Hi everybody, welcome back to a one book or novel at a time. I am continuing to read Goosebumps Most Wanted, Book 1, Planet of the Lone Gnomes, and I will continue with Chapter 9. If you're barely tuning in to one book or novel at a time and you have not listened to the other chapters, just go down the videos here on the channel and you'll find Chapter 1 through Chapter 8. I will begin Chapter 9. I gasped. I raised my eyes and saw my dad on the other side of the screen door. The lawn gnome didn't speak to me. Of course not. It was Dad. "Where's your bike?" he repeated. Well, it's a long story," I murmured. He held open the door and I slumped into the house. "Did you lose it?" he demanded. "Kinda," I said. "It's at the bottom of the quagmire." He squinted at me. He didn't look happy. "I knew you wouldn't believe me," I said. Dad sighed. "I don't know what to believe. I don't want to keep punishing you. But Jay, you promised." "Dad, what's up with all the lawn gnomes?" I asked. "Those two on the porch and in every yard. And, you know," Dad said. Mom called from the kitchen. "Hey, you two, supper is almost ready. Time to eat." Dad turned and strode to the kitchen. "Come in, dear." I hurried upstairs to wash up. I could smell myself. I smelled like a swamp. I thought about sinking in that sandy orange goo, and it made me shudder. I wasn't sure I liked my new neighborhood. In 2 words, it was dangerous and creepy. Of course, I had no idea how creepy it really was. The next afternoon, I stayed in my room. Sunlight poured in through my window, and a warm breeze ruffled the curtains. But I didn't feel like going outside. I set up my test tubes and glass beakers on my lab table. Then I arranged my chemical bottles. I've always been a science freak. I love taking chemicals at random, mixing them together, and seeing the results. It's relaxing and exciting at the same time. I studied the brown glass bottles, trying to decide what kind of mixture to create. I poured a little bit of a bright orange chemical I made into a large beaker. Then I added just a drip of hydrogen peroxide. It made a soft hissing sound, and it smelled sharp and bitter. I stirred in a few teaspoons of magnesium, but it didn't seem to do anything at all. When my family moved here 3 weeks ago, my parents tried to stop me from bringing my chemistry set. I mean, we had to move because of all the trouble I caused with my chemicals. And we all wanted a clean start. No one in our new town knew about what I had done. Mom and Dad wanted to make sure it never happened again. But my chemicals are just too important to me. How could I leave them behind? Working with chemicals and learning about science isn't just a hobby with me. It's what I care about more than anything in the world. Maybe someday I'll be a famous scientist and I'll create something totally terrific. I screamed and cried and begged and pleaded, but they said no. So I had no choice. I hid my chemistry set in a carton of blankets and sneaked them into the house. I raised the test tube of a few acid I discovered and I tilted it into my mixing beaker. The acid made the liquid inside start to bubble and fizz. "Hey, what's up?" Kayla walked into the room. She startled me. I almost dropped a tube of acid. "Don't you ever knock?" She ignored my question and stepped up to the lab table. "Ew, that stinks. What are you doing?" I snickered. "I'm mixing up a special drink for McClatchy." Kayla didn't laugh. "Stop it, Jay. That's not funny. Stop thinking about pranks and mean tricks to play on people." I held out the fizzing beaker. "Take a sip. See if it's ready." She stepped back. "You're really being stupid, you know that." I didn't answer. I poured a little more acid in the beaker and watched it bubble. But Kayla wasn't finished scolding me. "I can't believe you're mixing chemicals again. You promised Mom and Dad," she said. "You promised them you've changed. You said you'd be responsible from now on." So I shot back. "So You got caught stuffing McClatch's mailbox with garbage? And you lost your bike? That wasn't my fault, I said. Go ahead. Do something responsible, she said. Do something to impress Mom and Dad. I set the test tube back in the holder. Like what? Kayla thought for a moment. Go take Mr. Phineas on his afternoon walk. Do it before they ask you to do it. Good idea, I said. I'll do it. I started to close the lids on the chemical bottles. Kayla, do you want to come with me? She shook her head. Too boring. She turned and ran from the room. A few minutes later, I snapped the leash on Mr. Phineas, and we set off walking down the front lawn. Mr. Phineas, stop pulling, I cried. Stop it! You're pulling the leash from my hand. The dog was pulling like crazy. Excited to be outside, I guess. Mr. Phineas, stop! Mr. Phineas, slow down, boy! To my surprise, the two lawn gnomes had been moved from the front porch. Now, they were at the bottom of the driveway. Across the street, McClatchy's two lawn gnomes stood at the curb. The four bearded gnomes appeared to be having a staring match. Who keeps moving them around? I wondered. And more important, why? What a mystery. So far, I couldn't get anyone to answer any questions about them. More gnomes stared at us from front yards as Mr. Phineas pulled me down the street. At one house, I saw 5 of them standing in a circle. The gnomes' arms were outstretched. It looked like they were holding hands. Totally weird. Hey, stop! I let out a cry as Mr. Phineas took off. I saw a squirrel half a block away. No, stop, stop! The leash flew out of my hand, barking his head off. The big dog went tearing down the middle of the street. The squirrel froze for a moment, then turned, scampered away. Mr. Phineas, come back, come back! In a panic, I stumbled after him, shouting, begging him to stop his hunt. But nothing can stop Mr. Phineas when he spots a squirrel. Mr. Phineas, stop! Come back! The leash whipped along the pavement behind him as he ran. I didn't see the squirrel anywhere. It had probably climbed a tree. But the dog didn't slow down. Mr. Phineas, please! And then I saw a dark green car turn onto the street, and I staggered to a stop, my body frozen in horror. No! No! Mr. Phineas, look out! I shut my eyes and listened to the squeal of tires. And that is the end of chapter 9. What do you think is going to happen to Mr. Phineas? Wow, it's getting super interesting, right? Once again, thank you for tuning in to One Book or Novel at a Time. Don't forget, everybody's a reader. Some of you haven't found the right book or series. What if Goosebumps Most Wanted is that series for you? So continue listening. Hope you're enjoying. See you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in to One Book or Novel at a Time. Have an awesome day.